Good evening, everyone. In this today's session, we'll learn about the HBase. Earlier, we had discussed about the Hadoop MapReduce system, then Hive, Hadoop Peak, and so on. Uh, Basically, Hadoop has some limitation. So these limitation is overcome by the different project which is developed using the Hadoop MapReduce system. So Hadoop can perform batch processing, and the data which is provided to the Hadoop can be accessed in a sequential order. So in what sequence will provide the data to the Hadoop MapReduce system? That is the one limitation. Another thing, storage. Suppose you are storing a large information on the Hadoop MapReduce Hadoop system, then what happen? Accessing the information will be a tedious task because finding out the required information from a large pool of data is a complex one. Uh, so we need to what the Hadoop features will provide us. We need to search the entire Hadoop HDFS file system to find out the required data as per the job requirement. So HBase is basically a distributed column oriented database, and it is built on the HDFS file system. So to provide a better way to management of data, HBase is being designed. So it is basically a column oriented database. So it is taking all the feature of HDFS, and all the properties which is supported by HDFS will be supported by HBase. But it is a interface which will provide you a database like data which is column oriented. Again, it is an open source project, so every source code is available to you. You can adopt the whole project and you can customize as per your requirement. Asbase is a data model. It is similar to the Google's big table, designed to provide quick random access to huge amount of structured data. Can anyone tell me what is a Google's big table? Because Asbase is being developed with the inspiration from Google's big table. So I think that a lot of you have not heard about the Google's big table. So let me give you an introduction. Google Big Table is a compressed, high-performance proprietary data storage system built on Google File System. So here a terms come Google File System, which is similar to SDFS as we have discussed, but it follows a different rules and standard. But the whole function of SDFS and Google File System is same to provide a fault-tolerant storage, to provide distributed storage, and so on. So leverage the fault tolerance provided by the SDFS. So as we have discussed that fault tolerance means when we are having a data from our own business, then what the data should do, it should not be lost in any case. So suppose you can face a different kind of challenges where whether it is a human error or some human intervention, some natural disasters, or any device fault. So, to overcome these challenges, we need to distribute the data into multiple places. So that is a one way to avoid any types of fault, and we call that system of fault tolerance. So SDFS will come with this feature of fault tolerance, and so the HBase. HBase is a part of the Hadoop ecosystem. It provides random real-time read-write access to the data in the Hadoop file system. So basically, it is using the SDFS file system, and it is being developed on the Hadoop MapReduce system. We can store the data in SDFS directly, as we can do with the Hadoop MapReduce or through the HBase. So it's our choice which system we are going to follow. So it is the basic diagram of HBase. So basically, HBase will interact with SDFS, and it can read the data and it can write the data through the SDFS. Now, difference between the S-base and SDFS. So we have discussed what is the basic difference. Just go through these differences for 1 minute. Any issues in any sentence, then you can let me know. Okay. So we'll proceed further. And I think all of you are aware with the RDMS. So RDMS basically Relational Database Management System. You are very familiar how to work with the RDMS. So there is a main difference between the S-base and RDMS is RDMS is a schema-based system, while the S-base is a schema-less system. So that is the main difference. So you can store the semi-structured and unstructured information in S-base, while RDBS only support the structured information. Rest of the differences you can go through for 1 minute. Okay. Feature of S-base. So it is a linearly scalable because it is follow the column-oriented database system. So you can extend your database as per your requirement. It has automatic failure support, so you don't need to worry about connection loss or any type of data device failure because it will back up everything automatically. It provides consistent read and write, and that is the requirement while we are working with the big data. It integrates with the Hadoop, as we have discussed, both as a source and a destination. And it has easy Java API for client. So you can use this Java API to make an application which can store the information using the HBase. So whether you are developing application for any platform, you can use this API to store the information on the HBase. It provides the data replication. So basically, data replication stand for replicating your data across multiple devices. Why is it important? Because as we had discussed, there can be various challenges with the data. One of them is a loss of data due to device failure and natural disaster. So to avoid such kind of failure, we should have a data replication. Okay, anyone heard about recent incident with the HDFC Bank? Uh, HDFC Bank got a technical issues. Do anyone has any view about those incident? I think you are guys are not reading the news. So what happened? One of the data center which is used by the HDFC Bank is got shut down due to power failure. So what happened? They got technical outage for their services. And what are the implication of that? RBI has stopped HDFC Bank to do any further digital new transaction, like issuing a new credit card and so on. So you can find out that data replication and fault tolerance is so much important for any businesses because it can hamper the current businesses as well as the future businesses of any organization. Okay. Now, application of base. So, if you are working with a very data-oriented application which heavily rely on the data, for example, your video streaming or any live streaming services, so you can rely on the base. If you want to get a faster access to available data, we can use the base. And some major companies, MNC in the world, are using the HBase. Some of them are Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, and Adobe. So I think all of you are familiar with them. Now, next topic is data sharding. So data sharding is basically what happens. Suppose we have a database and data set. So what happened after some time, it is increasing in exponential order, and it will increase so much that it is very hard for the organization to manage such a large amount of information as well as to access those information. So data sorting can be applicable for any application or website that get a significant growth and want to scale their uh, database in order to accommodate the traffic. So these data-driven application and website, it is critical that scaling is done in a way that ensures the security integrity of data. So there is a problem of scaling because you can find out that scaling is not an easy task for existing businesses. Suppose you have already set up your businesses, you have already working application, you have already created your databases. Then what happened to provide uh, accommodation to the new traffic, a new user, and to scale your database and application is one of the complex, challenging tasks. It is difficult to predict how popular a website application will become and how long it will maintain the popularity. So it is another challenging thing. First thing, for any website or any application, if it is a new, then it is very hard for the organization to predict their growth and whenever they get popular. And sometimes it happens that some businesses are popular at some moment, but after some time they got less traffic. So what happened? These problems will create a challenges for scaling the application. So some organization can choose a database architecture, allow them to scale their databases. So these database architecture can follow the data setting. Now, so it is a process of breaking up large table into a smaller chunk of called start, and that are spread across multiple servers. So how they will break the information? Let me go through a picture. So suppose you have a table, so you can create a horizontal distribution of the table, and you can take some row in a as a part and take another row as another part, and you can do a horizontal partitioning between the your table. So that is a certain. Let me go back to the content. So it is essential a horizontal data partitioning that contain a subset of the total data set and hence responsible for a portion of overall workload. So you can see that if we are following the horizontal partitioning, so what happened? It can distribute the load from one server to another server. You can create and scale your database to accommodate the most traffic. The basic idea is to distribute the data that can't fit on a single node onto a cluster of database nodes. So you can define a cluster of database servers and you can follow the data sorting. Now, uh, can anyone tell me what is the advantage of vertical partitioning? If we are doing the horizontal partitioning, we can also go with the vertical partitioning, but that will create another challenge. Because when we are doing the vertical partitioning, we are taking a few columns at once and we are taking each and every information from those columns. So that is not a feasible idea when we are working with a database. Because horizontal partitioning means we can serve more queries, and while vertical partitioning will improve the complexity of the system. So faster query response times and index build, and it can continuously follow the load balancing over the different database nodes. So you can find out that you can accommodate more query at a one time. Uh, it is a network of smaller and cheaper services may be more cost effective in the long term than maintaining one big server. So it is one of the approach which can be very much beneficial for any organization. Okay. Now the next one is a next topic is a NoSQL database. So basically, we are all aware about the SQL database. So we have done some task on the SQL database while creating the tables, while performing the various operation using the SQL language. And we know that it is very good for the to store the structural information. But NoSQL database does not follow the principle of SQL database. So they are non-tabular database systems, and they can store data differently than our traditional relational tables. So it comes with a variety of types. So these variety of types can be a document NoSQL database, key value NoSQL database, white column, and a graph base. So we'll see what are these differences between these types in upcoming slides. So basically what happens, suppose you have some information regarding your client. So instead of distributing those information to a relation table, you can store the information as a key value pair, or you can store the information as a document. And whenever you require those information, you can fetch those information by identifying the key value of those information. So it will provide a flexible scheme and scale easily with a large amount of data and with a high user load. So that is an advantage of following the NoSQL databases. So it is quite usual that whatever the format which is applicable in a relational database, relational tables, that is not applicable to the NoSQL database because they are following the different mechanisms to store the information. It allowed developer to store huge amount of unstructured data. So as we have already discussed with the example, what is unstructured data? So you can visualize that storing the unstructured data into relational tables are a very challenging task. So we can follow the NoSQL databases, which can store the information, whether they are structured or the unstructured information. Now, so now let us discuss about the types of NoSQL database. So first type is a document databases. So it stores the data as a document. So basically a document is made of fields and value. So if you have information where you are define certain field within that document, so you can fill out those information. For example, you can store any user information related to any businesses as a field and value. So MongoDB is the most popular document database, NoSQL databases. So some of you are already familiar with the MongoDB. So I will request you that if you are familiar with the MongoDB, so one of you can give a brief presentation on the MongoDB within the class so that all the students can be aware about it. And I also will also try to get an overview of MongoDB. So I will request one of you will be contribute as a volunteer to install the MongoDB so that we can get an overview about how to work in a MongoDB. Another kind of database is a key value database. So as the name appears that we can store the information in key and value. And when we want to find search out the information, we only require the key of those particular value. In that way, we can find out the information. So it does not require to have fire the complex query to retrieve the value. Just know the key of that value. You can find those information. So Redis and DynamoDB are the popular key value databases. Next. Next database is a white column store. So basically, it stores the data in a tables, row, and dynamic column. So row is not required to have the same column. So you can find out that each row can have a different column. And it is commonly used for storing the data related to IoT. So suppose you have a different user profiling data, your data related to the IoT, you can store the white column storage data. And the popular databases are Cassandra and HBase. HBase, as we have already discussed, and I think some of you have already familiar with that. The next type of database is a graph databases. So basically, as a graph represent, information will be stored in the form of nodes and edges. So we need to find out the relationship between the various information. For example, pattern within a social network. So suppose we want to find out what are the data related to some profile on the social network. So we can store those information as a graph database. So the application of this kind of database to find out the pattern within the social network, to detect the fraud, to recommend some information to the users. So, common example are Neo4j and Janus graph for the graph database. So, guys, I will suggest you that please write and brief overview about example of these different kinds of databases from MongoDB to Cassandra as base Neo4j as your assignment in the under the unit 5. So that is all for today, and we'll take the further topic in the next class. Thank you. Uh,